In this video, I'm going to be replacing my sink. So the first thing I need to do is unhook and remove my old sink. Go ahead and open up your cabinets below the sink. And the very first thing to do is turn off your cold and hot water supplies. Now mine are already off, they're right here. And that's because I'm in the process of replacing my dishwasher as well. Next thing you can do is you can go ahead and remove those water lines from the actual water valve itself. Alright, so using an adjustable wrench, go ahead and loosen your hose lines from your valves. And you might want to have a drip pan or a bucket underneath so that when you take them off, if there's any water in the line, you can catch that water. Okay, I'm going to remove the actual drain pipes next because since I'm removing the entire sink, if I want to get back to the connection at the actual faucets, I want more space to be able to crawl in here. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the bottom of my drain. Just give me the wiggle room. And I've already loosened the connection to the actual garbage disposal. I should say that if you are going to be doing this process and you have a garbage disposal, make sure your garbage disposal is off, either at the breaker or you've unplugged it. In my case, it is off at the breaker. And that's it. That's removed. Just like that. I'm going to put in my drip pan. And you can put a towel or something to just clog your P-trap so you don't drop anything in there. Okay, at this point you have two options. You can undo your lines and remove your actual faucet from the sink, or you can remove your garbage disposal. Now, I'm gonna probably go with the garbage disposal, and the only reason is that to remove the faucet, I have to reach all the way back up in here. I'm probably gonna have to lay in the cabinet. I really don't wanna do that. It's just gonna be uncomfortable. And the fact is that once I have the sink free, I can lift it up and remove it with the faucet still attached. It's not gonna add that much weight compared to the overall weight of the sink. But the garbage disposal, on the other hand, will be very difficult to remove with it still attached to the sink. So I'm gonna remove my garbage disposal, I'm gonna leave my faucet attached, and I'm just gonna remove the whole thing as is, and then remove my faucet once I have the sink out of there. Okay, to get my garbage disposal off, first thing I had to do was I needed to move this ring, which was extremely stiff, so I used an adjustable wrench and I was able to pull it towards me by hooking on the edge, and we're able to move it around, and just like that, it drops off and comes unconnected. Now, I'm not fully done yet. I still need to remove the actual mounting bracket from the bottom of the sink itself, and because my garbage disposal is hardwired in and I want to get the whole thing out of here, I'm gonna have to remove the actual line and undo the connection from the bottom of the disposal. Now, if yours is a plug-in because you have an outlet, if your builders did that, then this would be real easy. You would just unplug it from the outlet and be able to remove your disposal. But for me, I'm gonna have to do a little extra work. Okay, I've got my garbage disposal out. So my next step at this point is I'm going to need to cut away or break away, chisel away, however you want to put it, the seal that the kitchen sink is essentially glued to the countertop with. Now, again, if you want to remove your faucet beforehand, you can. I don't want to lay on my back underneath the sink and be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to pull the whole thing out together. Remove it afterwards. I like to use a flat blade screwdriver. Now, of course, when you buy these, there's usually on the packaging it says don't use it as a chisel or a pry bar. Screw that. I do it all the time. Never had one break. But use a nice quality one with, an actual thick steel blade to it, and that's what I'm using. Used it for years for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flat blade of it, and I'm just going to start scraping underneath the sink line, and I'm going to be very careful not to damage my countertop. Now, depending on what your countertop material is, you might want to use something else if it could possibly damage your countertop. I just got a laminate here. It won't really damage it so long as I'm careful about it. But if you were to have something more expensive, like an actual rock like granite or something, then maybe this isn't the best way for you to go about this process. But for me, this will work fine. And I'm just going to scrape it away as best I can. Okay, Okay, so the old sink is now out, and I've cleaned up all the area around the sink, got all of the old adhesive off, which is really important because before you go put in your new sink, you do not want that old adhesive in the way, because you're gonna have to lay down new adhesive and you don't want to be messing around and have it uneven when you're done. So clean it all up first like I did, and now what I'm gonna do is I've got the new sink right here next to me, and I'm going to install my faucet right now. That way I don't have to crawl under the sink and try to do this after it's in, where it's gonna be very uncomfortable. So I'm gonna drop it in now, secure it in place, attach all the lines, and then I will go and drop the sink into place and do the adhesive portion, all that, so that it's now permanently installed. And then all I have to do underneath the sink at that point will be installing the new garbage disposal. So when you go to put in your new sink and your faucet, if you're gonna do it this way, make sure that you put the faucet in the correct holes to begin with, since the sink is currently facing the wrong direction from where it will end up at. And then make sure that you have the faucet facing the correct direction as well. So I have a Delta faucet and it says Delta on the front, and I want it to say Delta when I'm staring at it and not the model number on the back. So if you've never done a faucet, they're pretty straightforward. You're gonna have a silicone gasket that will come with, and you're gonna want to use that to help create a moisture barrier so that you don't have water just leaking under your brand new faucet. And then once you drop it in, you'll have these plastic nuts that will secure it in place. Make sure they're pretty tight. And then if you have a sprayer like I do, you'll drop that into the 4th hole, or maybe you only have a 2-hole sink, just depends. Drop this in first. Now your sprayer's installed. The next thing you're gonna do, if you're using a sprayer, is you're just gonna hook this end up to your faucet end. Now, if you are not gonna be using a sprayer, then your sink will typically come with one of these as well, but it will have a capped end on this side, and you'll have to put that on there, otherwise you're gonna have water coming straight out the bottom of your sink. Just like that, pushes on. Now you have your faucet and your sprayer is hooked up. All right, so go ahead and drop your handle on top, and then they should usually provide you with a small little Allen key and the screw that you need to secure it. And just like that, your faucet is now fully installed into your sink. All right, so I have one more step, and unfortunately I don't have the parts for it. So what I want to do before I drop the sink in, because again, I don't want to crawl back in there and do this after the fact, is I want to attach my water lines to my actual faucet. Unfortunately, this new faucet didn't come with water lines, and the old one had its own water lines that came with it. So they didn't have independent steel braided water lines underneath the sink like most faucets will have. So I forgot to buy those at the store, and I'm gonna have to run out, buy those real fast, come back and finish this installation. All right, I now have my water lines, so let's finish this process up. I'm gonna apply some plumber's tape to the bottom of the faucet's hookups, and then I'm gonna attach my lines real fast. Now that I'm done installing my faucet onto the sink, I'm ready to actually get the sink into the cabinet. And the first step I'm gonna have to do here is flipping it over, and then you're given these clamps to help hold down the sink. What you do is you drop these in just like this, and they screw in the opposite direction, so lefty-tighty in this case, so that once it's flipped back over, it will be righty-tighty. And what you're gonna do is you take these and you slide them through these rails, just like that, and you have 12 of them total, so you want to put about 3 on each side. And you're gonna look for one in the middle, and then preferably one on each end. Now you can adjust them once you get them in there based off of how level your cabinet is and where maybe you need one side to be pulled down a bit more. But for now, just go ahead and do the one on each end and the one in the middle to start with. Get them all in there, and then I'll come back and lay down the adhesive along the outer rim here, and then flip it over and put it in. Now you do want to keep them like this currently, where they're aligned with the track, so that when you go to tighten them down, they will turn and then they will clamp to the underside of your cabinet base and hold the sink down. The pressure will apply to the underside of the cabinet, and it's gonna hold everything down until all that adhesive sets and everything will stay right in place. All right, so now I'm ready to apply the caulk. For this, I've got a DAP Quick Seal, and this is kitchen bath adhesive caulk. And we're just gonna apply a thick bead of it all around the rim here, right along this edge. And then making sure it's all uniform and it's fully connected, so I don't want any air gaps or anything like that because this is also watertight. So go ahead, insert your caulk into your gun, and let's give this sink some caulk. Okay, now that the sink is dropped in place and I've made sure it's pretty much level side to side, it looks pretty good, but same width between the front of the countertop and the front of the sink everywhere around. I now need to reach in here and use those clamps. I need to unscrew them first since I had them fixed in place so that they would stay out of the way. And now I gotta tighten them down so that they actually hold the sink to the underside of the cabinet until the adhesive dries. So this is not fun, to say the least, and rather painful. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and we'll come back. Okay, now that my sink is installed, I need to go ahead and attach my garbage disposal. But since this is only a single drain sink, my garbage disposal will be the only drain in this sink. And the first thing I need to do is to apply some plumber's putty to the inner ring that my drain will drop into. So I'm just going to work the putty into the ring, and anything that overflows is alright because I can come back and clean it up. I'm just going to drop my drain in. Just like that. Okay, I don't want my drain to move at all since it's directional essentially. It's got a sticker on it labeling the front, and I don't want it to move around on me, so I'm going to put a towel in here, and I'm going to put the old disposal right on top of it. This will also help weight down my sink so that it can continue to set. And now I need to go underneath and finish up. Now that my mounting bracket is attached to the bottom of the sink, I'm going to go ahead and attach my discharge elbow to my actual garbage disposal. Okay, since I'm going to be hooking up my garbage disposal to my dishwasher, I need to knock out the plug in here so that I can make that drain connection. Okay, now I'm ready to attach my garbage disposal to the actual mounting bracket. So the way this works is that you've got this lip right here, and you got 3 of them around the ring, and I need to get this little tab hooked on there and turn it so that it's fully locked in place, which will suck the rubber gasket here up into the actual disposal. Correction, up to the drain. Alright, I'm fully connected. I've gone ahead and did my drain hookup to my disposal, and I've attached the drain hose as well from the dishwasher, and I have a GFCI outlet installed in here for the disposal to be plugged into rather than having the hard line coming in from underneath. Now I can simply unplug my disposal under here, and I don't have to worry about there being a power issue if I have to work on the disposal or the sink instead of going to the breaker. Okay guys, that completes the process for installing a new sink, faucet, and garbage disposal. So the only thing I have left to do is the dishwasher, so join us next week and I'll show you the process on how to install a brand new dishwasher as well. And until then, we'll see you next time on the DIY Grunt.